Premium chocolate or couverture is usually purchased in big 10-pound blocks like this. This milk chocolate is actually from Calibo. In order to work with it, it has to be broken into smaller uniform pieces about the size of almonds. Chopping or chunking chocolate is probably my least favorite part of candy making overall. So I'll often chop an entire block and store it in Ziploc bags for a week or so that I have this part out of the way. The next time I'm ready to work in chocolate, this part is done and I don't have to deal with it anymore. Right about now, you may be saying to yourself, what's the big deal about chopping chocolate and what's the big deal about uniform sizes? As you get into candy making, you're going to discover that the more uniform the sizes and actually the smaller the chunks, the quicker your chocolate melts, the less chance it has of burning, and the smoother your recipes will go as you're pulling them together. So today we're going to show you 3 different tools that you can use to chop chocolate and also show you the size that you're kind of going for when you're breaking up your big blocks. Now, some manufacturers actually produce what are called pellets or buttons in their premium chocolate. Calibo is actually one of them. They create a product that is called couverture pellets, and man, are they great to work with. They're tiny, they melt evenly because they're all exactly the same size. So if you can find those online or at your local restaurant food store, go ahead and buy them. They're just a tad more expensive, but definitely worth the time. But for today, we're going to tackle this big block of milk chocolate and show you a couple of tools that you can use. So this block, as I said, is from Calibo. Let's talk about your chopping surface. That's really important. Almost every household or kitchen has a butcher block or a cutting board or a bread board. Those are all made out of wood, and although they're great, they're really not good for chopping chocolate. Why? Because when you use a knife or if you use a sharp awl, if you go down through the chocolate and you happen to go into the board, you may end up with a little fleck of wood in your chocolate, a little wood chip. So not such a good idea to use wood as a chopping surface. If you think that using an aluminum baker's sheet or a cookie pan is okay, when you chop down through the chocolate, you may hit the aluminum and create a little tiny sliver of aluminum that may end up in your recipe. Again, not such a good idea. This is a high density polyethylene cutting board. It's about 1 inch thick. Amazing. I can try to even dig it and I can't get any plastic out. It's easy to wash. It is very resistant to any kind of penetration whatsoever, and I can chop my chocolate with full confidence that I will have no residue from my board in my chocolate when I'm finished. So you can find these online at any big box store or any kitchen supply store, and they come in various sizes, so you don't have to get a big one. You can get a small one if your work surface is rather small. So here we go. We're going to start with this, and we're going to use a knife, which is probably the most common. Your first instinct is to want to go down and just push, 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 and break it off like this. A couple of things will happen. If you slip, you can cut yourself. If you do this, you can actually slip and cut yourself too. So if you're going to use a knife, use the edge and just carefully shave off corners like that. Look at those. Those would be nice decorations for some of our confections, right? Here's another tool. This is called a chocolate Chunk Err. Pretty lethal looking. The neat thing about that is it has several points of entry on the chocolate and does a lot of the work for you. You can find these in a gourmet food store. You can also buy them online at candy making websites or various gourmet websites. You always work from the edges in. If you start here, it's too hard to break off, so just go little tiny pieces like this. So I just put it in and I just rock it back and forth, and as you can see, it really does a nice job. It still takes a little bit of heft. So we're Using our chocolate Chunk Err, and it really is, it just breaks the chocolate up into nice small pieces. And then we're going to talk about using the awl. This is a really sharp tool. It's pretty heavy. This works sort of like a knife, but isn't quite as dangerous. You just put it in and give it a good push. Now, if you'll notice, when I push it through, I'm actually going into the chopping board. So that's a good reason, as I mentioned before, not to use wood or aluminum. Now, some of you may have a marble candy slab. That's great. Wonderful to work with chocolate. You can temper your chocolate on a candy slab. And some of you may have granite or marble Corian countertops. Don't recommend using this or this or this on any one of those, because you will definitely pit the surface. And I do take time making the sizes nice and small and very consistent, because I know it's sort of an insurance policy when you get into the actual construction of your recipes. The smaller the chunks, the more uniform they are, the easier they will melt, and the more consistent your entire process will be. So now I'm going to transfer our chocolate into a bowl to get this part out of the way. We'll show the camera our nice little even pieces. So from here, I'm going to finish chopping this entire block, this wonderful slab of Callebaut milk chocolate. I'm going to put it in baggies like this and store it in my refrigerator for 3, 5, or 7 days while I prepare for my continued candy making. Now that that's all done, our chocolate is in nice, small, uniform bite-sized pieces about the size of almonds. So let's have some fun. The Gourmet Candy Maker would like to give you a gift, a complete video series on the most frequently asked questions about gourmet candy making. Go to www.gourmetcandymaker.com and download your series absolutely free.